If you're a trader who knows the rules, you know the strategy, but you still just can't break through, this is why. Today, I'm going to be covering the invisible film that is without a doubt plaguing your trading career from ever seeing success. First, what is the invisible film? The invisible film is a mental layer that blocks your knowledge from affecting your decision making in all aspects of your trading. The film is responsible for justifying plain greed, over leveraging, taking trades just because it feels right, and straight up ignoring market conditions. But these are all beginner mistakes, and most traders outgrow those quickly. But the film remains on, even when we mature past that. But this time it works more subtly, even though it targets and uses the same root issues. You take a trade that looks valid, but it skips one of your key confirmations. Or you slightly bend your rules because it almost fits your system. Maybe you justify poor execution because you felt good about the trade. Or, my favorite, you push away strict discipline because you think that you've evolved past that and you know what you're doing now. For any profitable trader out there, you guys know this cannot be further from the truth. It's not obvious recklessness that the film promotes, but it's rationalized recklessness. You still make mistakes, but now they wear the mask of maturity. The film operates in this gray zone between knowing and doing. What does that mean? It means that the invisible film does not stop you from knowing what you should do. You have the knowledge. You know your system, your edge, your confirmations, your risk rules. But when it's time to actually do it, to apply that knowledge in a real trade, the film makes you hesitate. It makes you cut corners or justify even breaking your rules. So the film is the gap between having knowledge and consistently applying it. And that gap is filled with ego, excuses, and subtle self-sabotage. Here's some examples. You know your edge requires 3 confirmations, right? But you take a trade with 2 just because it looks good enough. The film covers the steps between knowing and doing. Maybe you know that because of the overnight session and conditions in the morning, you should definitely be de-risking today. But instead, I'm just going to go ahead and risk full size because the setup looks super solid. You know, but the film places a wall between the knowing and actually applying it and doing. You know you shouldn't be trading after hitting your rules daily loss limit. So you only want to lose 1,000 in a day. You just lost 1,200, but you're going to justify taking another entry because now the market's clearly moving. That's the film. It's the voice that rationalizes bad behavior. Overall, the film blinds you from seeing the objective reality of your trading decisions. The film lives in and stops the connection between what you know and what you actually do. It's not ignorance of information. It's failure of execution caused by prideful thinking. If you want to eliminate the film, you don't need to know more knowledge. You need to close the gap between knowing and doing by humbling yourself and sticking to your process like your life depends on it. Alright, so where does the film come from and what is it even comprised of? It comes from ignorance, but not the simple ignorance of just not knowing enough about the markets or your strategy. Most traders know everything they need to be profitable. They know risk management, they know their edge, they know their system, they know how to apply their strategy to a T perfectly day after day. But they choose not to honor those things consistently. Why? Because their pride gets in the way. It lies to them, whispering, "I've got this. I don't need to be robotic. I'm smart enough and I'm different now. I've learned enough to bend the rules." Every single profitable trader out there knows that this is a lie. This isn't lack of knowledge. It's woeful ignorance. It's prideful neglect of what you know is right. And until you admit that, you'll stay stuck. It's ignorance that's born from pride. It's the ego's belief that you alone can outsmart the market. Your desire for success, which you've linked to money in this trading game, creates this pride. Pride makes you believe that the rules don't always apply to you. It makes you think that you can just skip steps and still get to the finish line. This is false, and this is the film. Alright, so why is ego so dangerous in trading? Let's talk. The market doesn't care about you or your feelings. And when you tie who you are to your trade, saying that this is my trade, you fail. You set yourself up for failure. No trades are your trade. It's just a statistical event based on inputs that you've followed. Thousands of other traders are taking that same setup, so why is it yours? The outcome is not about you, it's about the math. Every trade comes with a combination of inputs, and that is the narrative of everything that happens before you press that button. This combination of inputs is what determines the percentage that that trade will go through. But then, even if your inputs resulted in a very high probability trade, the trade will be ran through that percent chance. If the trade lands on the winning side or the losing side, the combination of inputs was the same. You can only control the inputs. By ignoring this and just personalizing your trades, considering them who you are and making them a part of you, you place emotions in a game of Russian roulette where they are bound to be played with and hurt. When these emotions are hurt, you open the door to a whole new can of possible emotional decisions, and it is incredibly likely that your adherence to the system will deviate and your trade results will deviate from the system along with it. Understand, when you tie your self-worth to the trade outcome, you are tying your self-worth to a dice roll. Does that sound right? That does not sound right to me. You must focus on the process only. And it is not you failing, you winning. I'm a great trader. It's my system's great, and I am a great executor of my system. All right, so the film is bad, we know, but how do we actually remove the film? By killing pride with humility. Humility forces you to look at everything objectively. Makes you ask, what's actually on the chart right now? Makes you ask, did I follow my process? And where are my weak points in myself as an executor in the system and in this trade itself? But most importantly, it makes you ask, did I judge this trade by process or by outcome? Because a green trade can be a horrible trade if it breaks all your rules, but a red trade can be great if it follows all of them to a T. When you start thinking like this, you stop excusing bad habits. You stop making exceptions saying just this once will I take this kind of trade because I want to make money today. You stop chasing the market with emotional trades and you become a student of the market. Not a gambler who chases ego wins day after day. Not a person tying their self-worth to every single trade's outcome. Because when you do that, you're tying your identity and confidence to a coin flip in the morning. Does that sound right? A trade is a statistical event. It's not a personal statement about your skill, intelligence, or value as a person. If you win, it's because the odds played out. If you lose, it's because the odds didn't. Neither result says anything about your worth. But only if you followed your system 100% does any of this matter. Any deviation from your system welcomes you to a desert that feels inescapable because pride is holding the invisible film over your eyes. And the only way to remove that film and find the clear exit to the desert is to drop and remove your ego entirely. The only thing that matters is this. Did you execute and follow your process with discipline and integrity today? That's how real traders think. That's where they find their self-worth. That's how they validate if they did a good job this morning or a bad job. And that is the way to kill and remove the film. All right, so what happens when we remove the film? We gain clarity. We stop self-sabotaging, and we start actually just seeing the mistakes clearly. We start learning from them because we're no longer worried about just being right, but instead, you're focused on becoming a student of the market and the ones who have walked the same path before you. You grow because you're no longer just lying to yourself every day. The film lifts, and with it, your trading matures. You become that person that's worth the funded account, that's worth being able to copy trade. And this level of self-recognition and objectivity gained by submitting to humility will change your life. It will allow you to finally gain clarity in who you are and what you must do to achieve your goals. It will allow you to finally view everything you do and everything in your life with complete objectivity, which will allow you to figure out what you must add, remove, or change to become the person that is worthy of achieving the goals you want so bad to achieve. And the most important part of all, since you have now removed pride, you will have detached from preserving who you are in the flesh at this current moment, because now you understand you are not the best, you are not always right, and your way is not the only way. So what this does for you is it then allows you to easily and seamlessly change yourself and make the changes to yourself that will allow you to become that version of yourself that deserves the goals and is on the level of those goals. In this life, we don't work at achieving our goals. We must become the person who deserves to hit these goals as they are on the same level as them. So please ask yourself, are you mature enough to admit when it's time to lift the film? And will you actually do what's necessary to remove it completely? The next time you catch yourself asking, why can't I succeed? What's the problem? I guarantee you, deep down, you already know the problem. The path forward is simple. Choose the truth that will set you free, lift the film, and thank you all for watching. If you have any comments, just drop them down and I'll answer those, boys. Appreciate you all for listening, and I hope you guys learned something today.